Let's welcome in Travis Pulver from OddsUSA.com. Hey, Travis, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Thanks, man. How you doing?
Well, I'm hoping for a football season. I think you are too. So,
I hear you, man.
Look, the Big Ten put their schedule out, and it's odd. There's Michigan, Ohio State in the middle of October. So we're in weird times.
It's gonna be a weird one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a weird one. But at least they're putting their best foot forward here to try to make it happen.
That's true. That is true. I'll take some football over no football. So even if it means our best games are not going to be at the end of the season, so what?
So I wanted to have you on to go line shopping, but this is hard. I mean, like, the games aren't really settled yet. So how are you kind of approaching looking at opportunity with the college football season?
Well, you really can't look at any games just yet. 'Cause, I mean, with the schedule, we really don't know what they're going to be. I mean, some of the conferences do have them out, but I think the odds makers are kind of doing their homework now and kind of figuring things out. So the only thing you look at is the national championship and the Heisman.
So
I think that's really about it.
Yeah, that is really about it. All right, let's talk about the Heisman. And I guess we don't know if any major players are going to not participate, regardless if they move forward or not. I saw Justin Fields going to play. I saw that. So what do you make of the Heisman thus far?
Heisman can be a tough one because, you always have guys like Lamar Jackson, just kind of came out of nowhere. The guy preseason was like plus 10,000 odds and goes on to win. So, yeah, anybody that was lucky enough to put a penny down on him did really good. I mean, same last year with Joe Burrow. I mean, his odds are pretty high, and he ends up being phenomenal and wins. So, you want to look at the guys where you can win money off of, but you want to win, period, too. So if you're just thinking that, you got to think, well, then you got to be thinking Trevor Lawrence. You got to be thinking Justin Fields. I mean, those guys are the runaway favorites. I mean, so it's kind of up to the bettor. I mean, do you want to go for the sure thing, or what you think is a sure thing, or do you want to go for the massive payday?
Yeah. If you were to lean one way or the other with Fields or Lawrence, which way would you go right now?
That's a tough one. I mean, a lot of times I think Clemson can be overrated, but then they keep winning. So, I mean, they must not be overrated.
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge Trevor Lawrence fan because I think he's got such a good team around him that he hasn't had to be a phenomenal guy. But this year might be a little bit different. I mean, he still has Travis Etienne, if I'm pronouncing that right, I hope. But we don't really know about his receivers, and we don't know about his offensive line. So this could really be the year where we're going to see whether or not he is as great as people have been saying he is since day one. Fields, on the other hand, he's got a better supporting cast, coming out of the gate. So if I were to choose one, I would probably go with Fields.
Yeah. But to your point, whether you think Clemson's overrated or not, clearly their conference is inferior. And so they are just going to win. And I mean, I guess we should assume nothing with the pandemic, but all things being equal, they're going to have a great record again, right? I mean, so doesn't that help?
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, their only real contestant this year is going to be Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. I mean, if they could go, 10-1? I mean, would be the worst case scenario for them probably.
It looks like it. I mean, and that's what it was. It was weak last year. It's looking like it's going to be weak again this year, all things being equal. So we'll see how it plays out. So, I mean, I don't know. There's a part of me that goes, Lawrence gets so much publicity that helps him too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and it hurts him at the same time, though, because since everybody knows his name and knows he's supposed to be this phenomenal guy, they expect great things. And if you look at a lot of our winners in recent days, recent years, they're not the guys that we expect great things from. They're the guys that surprise us.
So is there a name? Is there a Burrow out there for you this year that you see or you think or you're kind of eyeing and looking at going, that guy could have a big season?
Yeah, I am a little curious to see what Mac Jones can do. I mean, he's going to be a name that we're going to be a little more familiar with, but that's just because he plays for Alabama. I mean, I think he filled in admirably. He looks like he has the potential, but now we don't know if he's got, NFL quality wide receivers with him or not. So, I mean, he's kind of up in the air. I am real curious to see how Chuba Hubbard does with Oklahoma State. I mean, you got the guy who was a beast. They're going to give him the ball a ton. He's going to have the opportunity to make the yards, but will Oklahoma State win? That's kind of the big thing. If they don't win, he's going to be out of the running in a heartbeat. But right now, you can get him I think I saw him plus 5,000. I think at FanDuel.
Huh.
I mean, who doesn't want that?
Yeah. Well, and he had to make nice with his coach. They had that little brush up earlier in the offseason, so they made nice, so they seem to be heading back in the right direction. But I agree with you, winning probably matters. But his numbers could be just off the charts. So if that's what ends up happening.
I mean, they were last year, but he wasn't even in the conversation.
Right. All right, so let's get into the national championship a little bit here. Again, this is so in flux. I mean, yeah, the Big Ten put their schedule out. Some of the other conferences haven't even put a schedule out yet of when they're going to even start playing. At this point, who are you buying into?
As a Texas A&M fan, I hate to even say this out loud, but I think Alabama. Of course, I'm thinking if I'm going to look to bet on something, I want to make some money off of it. I mean, of course, you look at Clemson, and Ohio State are the two favorites, but I mean, the odds aren't. Your payout's not going to be huge to them. Like most of their odds are around 250 for Clemson. Ohio State, I think the highest I saw was 320. I mean, Alabama, though, you would think as much as they've won in recent years that their odds would be pretty good too. But, I mean, I think a couple places had them at plus 500. I think I saw a plus 600. And for the Crimson Tide, I think that's insane.
I mean, they've been in every playoff. Yeah, they've been in every playoff but one. I mean, so who wouldn't take that?
Starting them so far back just seems crazy to me.
Yeah.
I would love to talk to somebody who makes these odds almost just to see why they're putting them so far back. I mean, my only guess could be that they think so much of Clemson and Ohio State that, Alabama's just going to be the third. But, I mean, Crimson Tide fans, take advantage of that while you can, because as soon as the season starts and as soon as they blow out, Georgia and a couple other good teams, I mean, those odds are going to plummet.
Yeah. What about Big 12? Do you see anybody out of there that you think might be a factor?
Well, as a native Texan, I watch the Big 12 religiously. I mean, they're one of my favorite, conferences to watch. I mean, I grew up watching those guys, so it's just kind of in my blood. But I can't get behind Texas. Part of me would like to, just because I'm from there, but I don't know. It's just like those guys don't know how to win. They don't know how to handle success. Oklahoma is again really the best bet.
Yeah,
and that's assuming that Spencer Rattler is as great as everybody says he is. And that, I think and that Lincoln Riley is too. I mean, we really haven't seen him have to do a great coaching job yet. I mean, he's always had phenomenal quarterbacks on his roster guys that we know are going to be great. I mean, we don't know that about Rattler yet.
And it sounds like you love Alabama. There's no reason not to. Is there anyone else in the SEC right now that you're looking at and saying that they could, if it's not going to be Alabama, it's going to be them?
Oh boy. Well, I guess I kind of have to say this, otherwise I might not be allowed back in the state. Texas A&M is worth looking at. I mean, Jimbo Fisher is a great coach. They have a lot of veteran leadership on the team. The defense will be good. I think the offense will be at least okay, and that's kind of where I kind of waffle on them a little bit. I am not a Kellen Mond fan. I can't get behind him as a major D1 quarterback. I think the best the guy's going to top out, he might get a job in the XFL next year with The Rock, and that's about it. I mean, he's just not – he doesn't have that clutch factor. Yeah, he pulled it off with LSU a couple years ago. Other than that, he doesn't win the big games.
No.
But their odds are good. I mean, you can get them around plus 4,000 at a few different books. I mean, that's a pretty nice payday to me.
So your money for the end of the year at this point, assuming we have a season, Justin Fields ends up getting the Heisman. Alabama wins a national championship.
Yeah. I think that's where the smart money goes.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, Travis, we'll read you on oddsusa.com. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you. Have a good day.